every so often you move a plant or a leaf or you change something around on the shelf and there's something you hadn't even noticed. Right there. It's just a Hoya being a Hoya. So join me with a tasty beverage of your choice close to hand while we take a look at 6 Hoyas being Hoyas. And the last one of the Hoyas today is just kind of an update to something you've seen in one of my earlier videos, but it sure surprised me when I noticed it, so I thought I'd throw it in as an extra. And now let's get on to the first Hoya. And the first Hoya up today is this beautiful Hoyasipitangensis. And it was named after where it was found, which was Sipitan in Sabah in Malaysia in 2002. But it's pretty much found all over Borneo. This is a very simple, very pretty little plant. Nice green lanceolate leaves. Just a nice little plant. And today, see if I can find it without tearing it up. There we go. Today it bloomed. And those are really very pretty little blossoms. There's another peduncle down here. And I thought I saw, as you can see, it's been growing really well for me. It's kind of liking where it is. And there's another peduncle down there. So this has not been any difficulty. It just has been growing, doing its thing. And because it never gives me any trouble, never gives me any difficulty, I sometimes don't pay as much attention to it as I probably should. I had noticed that there were peduncles forming, and I had known that there were buds. And actually, in the Hoya room, I have a list of who's expecting. And so this was on the list, but I just overlooked it. And then there it was today. This is a really, really pretty plant. I am very happy with it. It has grown, as I said, like crazy. It's just, it's a beautiful color of green. It's really nice shaped leaves. There's a little bit of sun stress because he's up near the lights. But this is really cool. I'm very happy about those blooms. It's everything a Hoya should be. This is Hoyasipitangensis. And the next Hoya up is something of a beast of a plant. I don't really know how I'm going to be able to show this to you, but we'll give it a try. Bear with me on this. This is Hoya multiflora. And the leaves are nothing to write home about. They're pretty enough. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. But they are just green leaves. But if that'll focus for me. It's the blossoms. Of course it's the blossoms. It's the blossoms that everybody, oh, it's grabbing on the microphone. It's dropping nectar everywhere. It's a beast of a plant. It has grown really, really well for me. See if I can get it back into frame. Yeah, it's blasting buds. One of the things about multiflora is it will blast buds on you. There's a pile of potential buds that are not going to make it underneath where it sits in the plant room. And oddly enough, this plant is on my list for recommended beginner Hoyas. I know, when I first got it, I thought, I'm not going to be able to handle this plant. This is a fancy plant. This is not something that a beginner should be should be trying. I was sure I was going to kill it, especially since I ordered it. I remember I ordered it in December because I found one at a good price and thought, well, you better jump on that now because it's not going to be there in a couple of days. And I placed the order and the transaction went through, and then I stopped and thought, what are you doing? It's cold, it's December. It traveled with no trouble. Absolutely none whatsoever. I don't even think it lost a leaf. It didn't have trouble with losing leaves until it got under my tender care. And I knew enough, this was several years ago, I knew enough about Hoyas to know that something wasn't right and I needed to get more information. Now, hoyamultiflora has very fine leaves, or very fine roots, fine root system like an azalea, if you're familiar with that. It doesn't want to dry out. There goes another bud. It doesn't want to dry out, but it doesn't want to be too wet. It's very much of a happy medium kind of plant. And once you find that level, it's going to be absolutely happy with you. And it will bloom and blast buds happily for years. This one it's almost 2.5 feet tall, I would say. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 active peduncles. And as I said, if you're a beginner and you realize that you can handle this plant, this is one to get. This is the one that you can show your friends and they'll be impressed that you grew that. Another bud. Is there another one up? No, okay, we're good. And they're just beautiful. The first time it bloomed for me, I was over the moon. Quite surprised that I could get something like this to grow and bloom in my care. And it's been doing that ever since. So if you're new to Hoyas and want to try something new, do your research, read about what multiflora likes from good sources, and don't get me started on that, from good reliable sources, and you'll do really, really well with this. This is such a cool plant. This is the one that got me started investigating thin-leafed Hoyas, which led to a few more purchases. But what can you do? This is just a fun plant. And I've got 6 out of 7 peduncles in bloom right now. So that's fun. That's a really good thing. This is Hoya multiflora. Making me work, Okay. Feeling so refreshed. This next one you've heard me mention in the last few videos over the last few weeks. I've talked about how it's turned into such a monster for me, but it's a monster I really love. Let's see if I can move this in carefully. This is my hoyabella. And it's just being a bella this week. Everybody's in bloom. Just absolutely beautiful. I love bella blooms. They're just gorgeous. The leaves themselves this is just the plain green version. So there's no variegation or anything terribly fancy, but I gotta rest this on something. This is the bella that started me on bellas, and I struggled with this one. I struggled with this one. And I've told the story. It was because I read online that they wanted to be planted in a combination of potting soil and cactus mix. And I did that, and I put it in terracotta, even better, because I like terracotta, and supposedly Hoyas like terracotta. Well, it didn't like that at all. It was not happy. And I kept thinking, when you look at a plant, you know that's going to die. I know it's going to die. I don't know what to do next, but that's going to die. So that's when I really I abandoned the sites where I had been getting information and found better sources. And what they said was, hoyabella does not like to dry out. So I got rid of the potting soil and cactus mix. I moved it into bark and sphag, which was what I was using at the time. And it liked it a little bit, but not a lot. So after a while in the bark and sphag, it was in a net pot too with a cover pot. After a little while in there, it was like, this should be doing better than this. I didn't know exactly what I was doing wrong, but I knew there was something, knew I wasn't doing something right. So when I found out that it doesn't like to dry out, that it likes nice light, but it doesn't necessarily want to be under the grow lights. So I moved it to a small, like 3.5-inch self-watering pot, the kind that hang on the wall. You've seen them in some of my other videos. And it liked that. That was what it wanted. And I think I put it into pon at that time too, because I was starting to experiment with pon. And it was very happy in that setup. Now, it doesn't have to be pon, but the plant does not want to dry out. So whatever kind of mix you use, I think the key is the self-watering pot. So I moved it into that, found a nice little place on the corner of a dresser where it's near the window. It's just off to one side, so it gets a little bit of early morning light, very early, because it's an east-facing window. And it has turned into this beast. This is such a beautiful thing. And this week there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 peduncles of buds open. There are plenty more in the works. And it's just a lush, crazy, beautiful plant. And this too is on my beginner Hoya list for a couple of reasons. Once you understand that it doesn't want to dry out. So my suggestion would be no terracotta, glazed pot, plastic, non-porous. Figure out whatever kind of growing medium you like, but it's not going to want to dry out. Find the right light for it, and it's just going to go to town. It's going to turn into a big plant, a big Hoya for you in no time whatsoever, and it's going to bloom. And the blooms they're just gorgeous. The blooms are just beautiful. There's not enough you can say about them. I love that simple 2-color setup. It's just really, really pretty. So if you're sort of new to Hoyas and want to figure out where to go next, this is something that's going to give you some success. It's going to grow for you. It's easy to take care of. This is hoyabella. I'm talking and lifting heavy plants, all for your entertainment. Now this next one is just sitting over here. This one I got as a free cutting, thank you cutting, from a vendor. And when I moved sipitangensis, I noticed that this Hoya brevialata had bloomed. And we're at the, I'm going to try and get this up. We're at the very end of the blooms. Let's see if I can put a hand behind it, if that will help. Come on. Here we go. It was not something that was ever on my wish list. When I got it, I was not as grateful as I should have been. I looked at it and I thought it was kind of plain, kind of nondescript. Where was all the splash? Where was all the drama? Where was all the stuff that got me into Hoyas in the first place? As you can see, the leaves are just kind of plain. And it is kind of nondescript. It is kind of just kind of there, but it's grown. It's grown really well. It has bloomed for me before. I should have been paying more attention. It's just, we are really dropping buds right and left. It was the very tail end of it. I wish I'd caught it earlier for you. But there's other peduncles, so there will be more, and with luck, I'll keep checking and you'll get to see them. This has been just a good Hoya, you know, just a good Hoya. And in the last year, I think I probably got this maybe 3 years ago. In the last year, it has really started to take off. Whatever I did, and it may have been, I don't think it's necessarily the pond. I think it's the self-watering pot, that and the food. When you hear that Hoyas are light feeders, don't believe it. Hoyas love to be fed, and they respond really well to it. So this has just been doing well. I was pleased that it had bloomed, and it was just sitting in the back corner, you know, minding its own business, a Hoya being a Hoya. And the problem was me, that I wasn't paying enough attention. So I need to remember to look in that corner of the shelf a little bit more often. But this is Hoya brevialata. This next Hoya is not anything rare or exotic or hard to come by. Actually, you know, if you think about it, we're growing these Hoyas in our homes, they're not rare. We don't get rare Hoyas, despite what every listing on Etsy says. It's not rare. But they're uncommon. You're not going to find them in your typical plant store, but they're not rare. Let's be realistic. But I happened to turn this one. This is Hoya fungii. I happened to turn this one, and so the side that you're about to see was the side that was away from me. And I noticed that it had been busy. And that's just cool. This is the side I usually see when I'm looking at the plant shelf, and I turned it around to move something else, and it was just being a good Hoya. These leaves are, as I showed you, absolutely beautiful. That is just so pretty. And this one has been just going to town lately. It's probably the warmer weather. It gets the same length of daylight pretty much. I make some adjustments in the fall, but right now it's getting like 14 hours of light. It's getting regularly watered. Let's see if I'm a liar. It's getting regularly watered. So it's doing well, and there's a peduncle here. So with luck, my Hoya, there's a peduncle up here too. With luck, my Hoya fungii will bloom for the first time. Probably won't be able to show you that. It's just a peduncle, so it's nothing. It's banging into the microphone. So it's nothing terribly marvelous, but I just am getting a kick out of these leaves. That's just very cool. Again, this one has been no difficulty, no dramas, no problems, just these beautiful green leaves with a little bit of texture and a little bit of splash. And they're really, really pretty. So yeah, if these leaves work for you, they work for me, one worth looking for. This is Hoya fungi. And the last one up today is one I've shown before, but it was the same story as the fungi. I was looking around it, and I turned and saw this. This is hoyalatifolia and this is the most recent leaf. And that's pretty much as big as my hand. The other leaves, I mean, they're all gorgeous. This is a gorgeous plant. The other leaves have been like this. You know, that's okay. It's beautiful. You know, beautiful. No arguments. But I turned it around and there was this. I mean, that's just huge. I'm a little worried now. You know, what am I going to do with this thing when it gets going? I don't know. That's a good problem to have, but I thought I'd share this with you. These new leaves are just making me smile today. Yeah. I guess this is why I started growing this. I just didn't know it was going to be like that. This is hoyalatifoliasarawak. And I want to thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me this week's end. Please remember to click on that thumbs up like button and the subscribe button. They're really important to the growth of the channel. I'm going to post links to a couple videos that you might enjoy over here. And enjoy the rest of your week's end.